To stand with the protocol that has been introduced before, and I will say, and I will go the Nigerian way and say all protocol observed. My name is Augustus Nwaka, as I have already been told, and by grace of God, I'm the one serving as the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Uganda, which is responsible for ensuring that all these things are done. So we are very glad to be here this afternoon and for inviting us. Both of us, the governor's office is very active. Dr. Michael Tingago is also participating in this forum as well as myself. So we want to thank you very, very much. We also want to say that the Uganda Development Forum is very, very interested in ensuring that Musevenomics is kept to the mark and the Bank of Uganda is alive. The Bank of Uganda is alive to this process. And let me say that I want just to make a clarification of what was said in the morning. The Bank of Uganda is here. Just use 3 minutes and then invite our Minister for Constitutional Affairs, who is standing in for the Minister of Finance, my brother Mattia, and then we shall go for our General Sare, who is going to explain better what this concept is about. This Musevenomics, ladies and gentlemen, is about what is it that has happened under the leadership of President Yoweri Museveni, because he has been in power uninterrupted for quite significant amount of time, and therefore we believe that the policies the government of NRM has pursued must be studied and with evidence establish what exactly has been achieved, why has what was planned achieved and not achieved, and how do you compare it with what we did before. But I want also to explain and clarify that for us in the central bank, some of us who may not know what the central bank is doing because of lack of time, I want to explain what we do when we know what this is exactly what we do. Our work can be divided into just two major tenets. One of them is to maintain price stability, to ensure that all of you who are seated here, when you are doing your economic activity, you are sure you are going to complete that activity. If you are building a house, the bag of cement is 34,000 shillings, it is going to be 34,000 shillings, and you will complete your house in the period which you have planned. That's what you do. I think you need to clap for us, even if you didn't want. Especially those who have a logo and you don't want to recognize what we are doing. That's what we do. And you must recognize that we have been able to control inflation. We have controlled the fundamentals, especially the fundamentals. Inflation was 161, to be very specific. In financial year 1986-87, inflation in Uganda was 161%. Inflation now is 3.9%. Our target is 5. We have been below that target, I think, for the last 10 or so years. Number two, the existence of the Bank of Uganda and what it does is to maintain sound financial system, to maintain the soundness of the financial system, to ensure when you present your check, it is honored. When you make a payment to your sister in New York, our RTJ system, our SWIFT system works. And number three, what we have added, Professor Saruma, these days we don't have, for purposes of this audience, we, for example, don't have, that we are not using very much repos and reverse repos. We are now using, we have introduced many products, the swaps, interbank operations, forwards. We are going also to start, for purposes of those who are in business, buying gold, and we are ready. We are absolutely ready. For two purposes. One, to bring the people who are in these mines in Karamoja, in Kasanda, in Kulisa, in the formal sector, but also two, to maintain our reserves. To maintain our reserves. And I want to congratulate the people who are in the coffee sector, as Professor Suruma here has said, and Dr. Muhumuza, that our balance of payments are being really maintained by the coffee exports. Every morning we have a meeting, FOMOS is still there, every morning at 9:30 to 10. The central bank has that meeting every day. And what is maintaining our balance of payments is really coffee receipts. We want to congratulate people in coffee, and we want to ensure that they don't mind very much about the president wants value addition. The coffee value chain is 136 billion. The other year we earned 893. This year is 1.1 billion. It is still less than 1% of the entire coffee value chain. I think let's work on coffee exports. It is the one really maintaining our balance of payments, and for purposes of this August house balance of payments is an account, just the financial account which calculates the amount of money we get abroad, total amount of all the money we earn abroad, as measured against the money we are spending. And the coffee receipts really are the ones balancing that account. The number two is remittances. These girls who are working in Oman, in Jordan, and so on, they bring here $900 million. Doctors, engineers in Detroit, in London. I was there the other day with the UN project, $700 million, total $1.6 billion, plus tourism 1.3, it's about 3.2, which is about 5.6% of GDP. So we want to agree with you, Professor, that we need to do something on coffee. Lastly, Dr. Muhumuza, on the issue of agricultural credit fund, we even have another one which was not talked about here, the Small Business Recovery Fund. This was the COVID fund, you remember. So these two were introduced by the central bank for demonetizing, for purposes of, because the interest rate is very high. Commercial banks have already been told 20%, 18%, and yet our CBR currently is 9.75, reduced by another 50 basis points from 9.8. Still, commercial banks have not responded effectively with the CBR. So what we have done, Dr. Muhumuza, is to ensure that we can have a facility that can really work for the, can you say the vulnerable, or the people who cannot be able to compete effectively with the commercial banks. This is the agricultural credit fund, and this money is available. Those of you who are in the agriculture sector, and it is not the central bank that is doing things in that area. The central bank, for purposes of people to understand, it is a bank which does not deal with the people. It's a bank which deals with the government and also commercial banks. It never deals with people directly. You deal directly with the commercial banks. So what we are doing, these are managed by commercial banks as to where. So we have SCF, we have Small Business Recovery Fund. These funds are available. We have a significant amount of money there. It is not absolutely much, but also it's not small. It is there, you can come. Money is never advertised. That's why it is scarce, and that's why it has value. Who cannot advertise money? Money is got by people who know how to look for it. So you can find a way of looking for it, and you find it, and then you do the work which we are supposed to do. I think finally is that we have extended the mandate for price stability, maintaining sound financial system in support of socio-economic transformation. So the Bank of Uganda is directly interested in realizing this 10-fold growth. It is no longer there in the air that it's controlling commercial banks, it is a regulator. No, we are interested. Even today we have a function at the bank. I was in Ushindi the other day. At the town hall, we have started the town hall meetings. Imagine the central bank somewhere in Ushindi, in the village in Bitero, there. Have you ever seen that since 1966 when it was formed? When this central bank was established, since when has it talked to somebody in the village somewhere? But now we have realized that we need to be in the process of transforming the country. So the central bank is with the people. We are taking it to the people, and we are here as well. We are interested in this process very, very actively, and that's what I wanted people to know. I have my panelists this morning. We had the Minister of Finance, my brother Matia Kasaija. We have a very dangerous substitute there. My brother Maud, I don't know whether you are still chairman, Maud. I'm going to recognize you. I'm going to give you a very big round of applause, and you can come here. Honorable Norbert Mao is our Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs. You can come, Honorable Mao, and take your seat here. And what he's going to do is simple, is our Vice Chairman also in Uganda Development Forum. So he will also explain what we are doing in Uganda Development Forum, and then he's going to invite our chairman, General Saleh, and then we shall be able to open this function officially. So I would require the media, therefore, to pay particular attention and also to focus effectively where you're supposed to focus, so that we can have the fitting opening ceremony of this conference. Thank you very much. Over to you, Honorable Mao. Before I finish, I don't want to come here again on this. These things which are being talked about, sorry, Honorable Mao, is that when the president asked these 6 questions, what was Uganda's economy prior to independence? What was Uganda's economy at the sunset of independence, under Idi Amin regime, under the second Obote regime, under President Museveni in 1986 to now? Then what will the Uganda's economy look like when it is a developed country? You had those questions. These are the questions that have been shaping Musevenomics. So what I did, I took advantage of, because I did my master's at the London School of Economics. I was at the London School of Economics yesterday. I just arrived now in the morning. I was at the Vice Chancellor had invited me to address the entire global community which is there for the economics of the future. Was invited me to talk about economics of the future. Now, in this book, chapter 2 of this book is particularly on this matter which we are addressing. I have tracked what President Museveni has done since 1986 to now, and also I've put outlook, including the oil economy, on what Uganda will look like. So the entire evidence of what has happened and what has not happened is here. And speaking one as I sit down is that, for example, foreign direct investment, people who are bringing money here, was negative in financial 1985. It is those who would bring money in a conflict country. But now it's 3.8 billion US dollars. Then you have income, you have revenue, and all sorts of things. So anybody who wants to understand Musevenomics and what has happened with data, and of course numbers don't lie, the book is here. It is in chapter 2. And those who want to know the central bank, how the central bank operates, it is chapter 6 and chapter 13. Who would want to know how the entire monetary policy operates globally. And of course, using our central bank as a case study, everything is here. So Africans, you wipe out this issue of saying if you want to hide anything, you write it down. You disprove them that actually you can read. Honorable Mao.
Thank you, Panel Chair and Deputy Governor of our Central Bank, all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and you are many, our international development partners, the intelligentsia who are bombarding us with these clashing ideas. And we, the ordinary people, like myself, and full figure, stand up in case you, the elites, you think this thing is only about you. The ghetto has stormed you. Dear friends, as Vice Chair of the UDF, my role is that of a morale booster. I want everybody to perform to the best of their capacities. A morale booster supports you 24/7. Whether you are winning, whether you are losing, they are there, wearing your colors proudly, the way we do with the Uganda Cranes. Even when we are clobbered, we go back home singing. The chairman, General Caleb Akandwanaho, Salim Saleh, his role is that of like a music conductor. He doesn't have to play any instrument, but he knows good music. So he chooses those of you who are here, you are the people who play the instruments very well in banking institutions, in private businesses, you are in industries, you are in academia, you are in the public service, you are on farms, you are all over the place. So what his role is like that of a magnifying glass to gather the scattered rays of the sun and focus it. And so I want in a special way to thank our very own Edward Katende. Where are you? Edward, come here and people see you. Edward performs a lot of slave labor in the UDF. And even though I am supposed to go for a delegates conference of the Democratic Party, I told Edward that I will come to introduce our chairman. Edward, thank you so much. Let's give Edward a round of applause. And the team that has worked with him, please stand up and we thank you. Thank you so much. Because of issues of the neck not turning very easily and us not having compound eyes, we have not seen you, but we acknowledge you. So, for very many years since he left the army, our chairman, General Caleb Akandwanaho, started with a kind of Juakali think tank. I call it Juakali because he started calling a few people and asking questions, teaching them what he knows and also learning from them. To the extent that now he can hold his own and have conversations with anybody. Doesn't matter who you are. Whether you are international diplomats, whether you are PhD scholars, whether you are political leaders like us, he has imbibed a lot of knowledge through this process of cross-fertilization that we call the UDF. Even us, the politicians, have been at the receiving end of some hard questions. He asked us the other day, what is your fundamental difference with President Museveni on the economy? Unfortunately, our media does not ask those kind of questions. Political leaders who want to lead this country come to your studios and you are on a side show. You are talking about skirmishes on the streets between security forces and political activists, and you don't ask somebody, what would you do differently? Now, I'll share with you a conversation that Ronald Reagan had with a little girl who he met, and he asked her, according to a video I saw, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the little girl says, I want to be president. And then he asked the little girl, what will be the first thing you do? And then the little girl says, there's a beggar on the street corner, and I see that he's in great need. I want to give him money. I want to give him like $50. I think it can help him. So President Reagan tells the little girl, come and mow my lawn, slash my compound, and I'll give you the $50. Then you can give it to the beggar. And the little girl tells President Reagan, why doesn't the beggar go and slash your compound himself? And he earns that money. In other words, in this world, when you have earned your money, you really, really value it. And we need people to go to work. We want people to work, earn from their sweat. And anybody who has worked and earned money does not just want to part with it easily. And that's why people don't want governments on their backs. Now, General Saleh now has a fully-fledged think tank around him, and there are many of you around here. Please stand up. The team of advisors. I see my uncle General Idro there, the Honorable David Kulkol, and there are many others all over here. Now, connected to these people are the rest of you who I see debating very serious issues online. I've not yet had the courage to contribute because really the debate is high voltage. I'm a bit intimidated. Now, that is what this gathering is about. The purpose of the General's address is to identify the target, as you have said here. The last time we gathered, I advised the people not to shoot with shotguns, because when you shoot with a shotgun, you injure many, but you kill none. So you injure many problems, but you solve none. You need to shoot with a rifle, and that is what the General is now interested in. And for that purpose, he has decided to camp in Gulu, my town. And targets have got to be realizable. You talked about Kennedy declaring that in our generation, America shall put a man on the moon. And they did. You also remember we once had a president here who also was fond of declaring targets. There was a time he said he was going to capture Golan Heights. He declared war on the apartheid regime in South Africa and organized jets to throw bombs in Lake Victoria as a rehearsal for capturing Cape Town. And during a dinner in London, not to be outdone by the Americans and their space endeavors, he announced that Uganda would now go to the sun in order to outdo America. And when he was asked by another dignitary at the table, how do you intend to do that, Your Excellency? Our beloved life president then said, we shall go there at night because the sun is very hot. Obviously, that attracted another bound, heartfelt laughter bout, and then one commentator said, Your Excellency, you surely know how to blow your own trumpet. Again, not to be outdone, he stood up and said, No. I also play accordion. Obviously, he was not aware that blowing trumpets is a figure of speech. Yes. It has nothing to do with music. So, I'm glad the targets that we have here are said to be ideological. Our chairman has very strong beliefs. And in this world, we need believers, first and foremost. Because those who believe don't give up. That is what matters. One day, I had the courage to ask the president of Uganda a question. Mr. President, why do you keep going? Why don't you give up? he was amused by that question because it was in public. When he got up to speak, he said, Mao has asked me why I keep going. Then he said, I'm going to answer him. I keep going because I'm sure of where I want to go. I have no doubts. So we believe that all of us here are true believers in the future potential of Uganda. Whether we achieve everything we are talking about in our lifetime or not, our belief should be the common denominator bringing us together based on what is in our heart. Love for our country, love for our fellow human being. And that is why this gathering is not just about degrees. How many PhDs you have, how many masters, and so on and so on. It is about here, which takes me to Cuba. Che Guevara, who you all know, was fond of being absent-minded in meetings. And he was in one meeting, and El Comandante Fidel Castro was speaking. On that day, on the agenda was to choose the chairman of the central bank, which we call a governor here. So Fidel Castro asked, do we have an economist in this meeting? And the absent-minded chair put up his hand. And then Fidel Castro rebuked him. Chair, you are not an economist at all. And then Chair said, sorry, El Comandante, I thought you had asked whether we have a communist in this meeting. And then Fidel Castro said, you have the job, because that's exactly what we need. We need first and foremost a communist who believes in our mission. The rest are details. Now that we have identified ourselves as true believers, now that we have identified ourselves as people who will not deceive each other, it is okay for IMF to deceive us, it is okay for the World Bank to deceive us, but it's more tragic when we deceive ourselves. And that's why I like the intense debate here. Talking about deception and self-deception, there's a lady here in this room, the Honorable Kabakumba. Where are you? The Honorable Kabakumba was a student in Sacred Heart. And apparently there was a young man in St. Joseph's College, Laibi, who admired her so much, but he had never spoken to her and had never met. It so happens that the Honorable Kabakumba was the topic of discussion in the boys' dormitory. So the question was, who would have the guts to talk to her? So one boy decided to write a letter in the name of Kabakumba. He wrote to himself and went and posted it, and then came to boast to his roommates that he had received a letter from Kabakumba. And for about a week, he was the most admired boy until another ambitious young man decided that this is too good to be true. So he went and stole the young man's exercise book, compared the handwriting with the alleged letter from Kabakumba, and found that they were exactly the same. So he was publicly humiliated. Now that is what self-deception is. You don't write to yourself a letter from a beautiful girl, because whether you believe it or not, it is untrue anyway. That's why not deceiving ourselves is very, very, very important. I welcome you on my own behalf, but you are going to receive a bigger welcome from our chairman. To the technical people, I put the question, is the general now online? He's supposed to speak to us online through connectivity. Please don't do to us what you did to Professor Muumuza. Or even worse. I understand Sarah Kajingo was one day giving a high-powered speech and was boasting about our success in the energy sector. We have these megawatts and so on. and then the power went off. I just wanted to say, Sarah, that's what they call punctuation. Your sentence got punctuated with a power outage. That's why we miss Umeme, because it was easier to curse. When power went off, you simply said, Umeme! But now, this thing of, how do you go about it? It is very difficult. Even Professor Kamuntu has failed to say it. I think we need people who talk very fast. UDCL, something like that. So is the general online now? UBC? I need first to be assured that, okay. It is very important that you understand why I'm the one inviting the general. Because the party I lead was in partnership with the National Resistance Movement. And and then divorced for 26 years. But during the time that we were working together, Uganda scored a lot. And that's why a country like ours should not waste human resources, wherever it can be found. We must really collect human resources, and I wish to encourage our president to continue looking for capable people from wherever to come and work for Uganda. Because the economic miracle that we are celebrating, some of the foundations were built by the likes of Yoweri Chesimira, Ponciano Mulema, Robert Kitariko, Kafumbe Mukasa, Sebana Kizito, Zachary Olum. These were DPs. Unfortunately, they divorced after 10 years. And Norbert Mao has been quietly engaging, and we are now moving together again. Let's see whether we will also have miracles. Most probably the miracles will be in the field that I wish to quote, and I hope the general will comment on it. This is a quote. African countries can achieve economic stability and sustain rapid growth when they meet at least two interdependent conditions. They must establish a stable and secure political framework rooted in moral integrity, as well as unleash the entrepreneurialism of the populace, facilitated by a free and democratic society. Guess who? Professor Ezra Sabiti Suruma. 2014, Brookings Institution. Get the book wherever you may find it. It tells the story of that period of recovery of Uganda, laying the foundation. It's now my singular honor to invite General Caleb Akandwanaho Salim Saleh, Chief Coordinator of Operation Wealth Creation, but for this purpose, our own Chairman of Uganda Development Forum. General, you have the floor. Let's welcome General with a round of applause.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Mao. Thank you, everybody who is in attendance. I warmly welcome you to the fourth edition of Musevenomics. I was challenged to study this form of economics by people who had cooked me, by NPA, National Planning Authority had cooked me. Then they made a PowerPoint presentation for me to deliver to the president. And it was made out of PowerPoint. So I delivered the note to the president. He read it and he took his time. And in March 2020, he answered me. And he said that whoever wants to discuss with him the economy of Uganda and Africa in general should answer those questions. And as you know, he's both a leader and a teacher. He asks questions and then he answers them. So he asked the 6 questions which are under discussion there at the conference. And I hope you will critique what he termed as the stimuli package that him and his colleagues, like Chairman Mao has talked about, Murema, Chesimera, and others, what they had come up with in the economic adjustment program. So I'm not going to focus on the stimuli packages they use to resurrect the economy. I'm going to focus on one factor of production. And I will be asking the technical team, because now these days I use experts to create debates on my behalf. Now that factor of production, when we were sent into the field as OWC, we found it to be the most distorted factor of production. And that was land. So today, I will use the words of experts to illustrate this point to the conference so that you can get answers for what these experts were raising. Now, slide number 1 is composed of an advisory note from Amanda Gavirano, who is the chairperson of the Physical Planning Board. She's asking us, do we understand the land use balance sheet in Uganda? Because land is the factor of production. Now Amanda is asking us, do we really understand what we need to do with land in order to be able to feed people by 2040, when we shall be 60 million people? That note is on the screen there. And I think you can discuss it as we go along. It is a short note, advisory note. Now, when I go to that note, I had to consult President's office. President's office, from a director there, Mr. Vincent, gave his own opinion of land use. And I think we need to go through them slowly so that we understand how do we remove the distortions from this major factor of production. Because all the stimuli packages that Musevenomics proposes, I think 80% of them or 60% of them are based on land. Now, if land is a distorted factor of production, then it distorts other areas. That's what we have been discussing now for almost 4 years. Then after that, I got a brief from the public agencies which are holding land, the land of Uganda in trust. A note has also been attached, not that one, the one of conservation. No, not that one. Yeah, that land under conservation, mainly in northern Uganda, where they clearly state that 4 million acres of land are under conservation, either NFA, UA, NEMA, Uganda Land Commission, through agencies of government. So that is slide number 4. Because I use the experts, I don't have so much knowledge, but I use people who have knowledge to create discussion points for me. Then slide number 4 is an advisory note actually for which I'm fundraising money for, to study who owns Kampala, who owns the land in Kampala. It is that I have that advisory note from Professor John Chibula, and he's fundraising for money to make a complete study so that we know who owns what land in Kampala, because it is becoming a big discussion point. Everybody thinks that I own half of Kampala when I have only, I think I have maximum 2 acres. And actually, if we were to ask the audience, how much land do you think KCCA owns? I don't know how many of them would get the right answer there. Then, interesting, the other week, I got a request from Internal Security Organization that they wanted to know how, when I came to own Kapeka and what I'm using the Kapeka land for. Imagine you get a note from the Internal Security asking you, how did you come to own this land? It's there, but they don't show the budget they had attached for research. Now, these are very, very important questions for all of us. So, fortunately for me, the day when ISO came, I had very, very good answers for them because we had already studied carefully the history, the ownership, the utilization of that land in Kapeka called Namunkekera Council Estate. So for today, for me, I want to stimulate debate within that conference. We know the stimuli which were used to resurrect the economy. We know them. Security of persons and property, privatization and liberalization, return of Asian properties, and all those. But for me, I wanted to challenge the conference, the fourth or fifth edition of UDF discussions, to specifically focus on this factor of land as a factor of production, and we see how we shall remove the distortions from that factor so that we are able to utilize it maximally. Because when you read what Dr. Amanda talks about, she says there is shortage, so we must do something. Then Vincent says we must do something, but we shouldn't touch land for conservation. Then these agencies which are holding land in trust on behalf of government are not maximizing the usage. And sometimes they are the ones who create conflicts on those lands. And then this Kampala city, Kampala, who owns land in Kampala, is a very interesting subject, which I think really needs to be studied, needs to be funded and studied. Then I will ask Engineer Chibuka, who is present there. He is my specialist on the conflicting of lands, especially that one of Kapeka. If he is given time, he is going to give you insights. That is what I wanted to discuss, because even in northern Uganda right now, the issue is land, the conflict between the Achotis and the what they call Vararo, what we call migrant cattle keepers, is about land. So the keynote address, I think, is going to be given by Dr. Suruma, who was my leader when I was at the Ministry of Finance. And I think he is going to articulate all the other issues related to our attempt to reach out to the moneyless people. In the last 10 years, I have led a mission called OWC. It has not been a very easy mission because we were told to go and look for people who have never touched money. 68%. We struggled with inputs, with coffee, with tea, with all those inputs over that period. And statistically, they say we were able to reduce the people outside the money economy from 68% to about 39%. And recently, I hear even the poverty levels have gone even lower. So dear participants and discussants, I request that you focus on the stimuli packages that were used, but you also help us to understand the land use balance sheet. Because if we do that, I think we shall devise means on how to utilize maximally that resource. Because the land is where minerals are best, land is where homesteads are best, that's where factories are best. So if it remains as distorted as it is today, that will not help us to achieve the 500-fold, 50-fold or 500? 50-fold, 10-fold growth. So ladies and gentlemen, if you help me to answer that question and listen carefully to the rest of the presenters, we shall produce a very big report out of this conference, and it will be helpful to us to look into the future. Because we have been discussing with the academia, with the private sector, with the ordinary mwananchi, and we are just trying to put together the economic history of Uganda, and it is very, very interesting. Because from what we have been able to read, the first development plan of Uganda as a protectorate was 1946. Now, 40 years later, in 1986, that is when NRM came to power, and they hired some experts under the IDRC, International Development Research Center from Canada. And as Chairman Mao said at that time, if you look at the list of cabinet ministers where the first cabinet of our liberation, 60% 60% of them were from DP. So I have been arguing with Chairman Mao, what caused the divorce? Because the divorce happened when I was here in Gulu, 1996. But I think Chairman Mao is the one who caused that divorce, because that time he was really like fire. And I don't know whether he will agree with me. But now, 2022, we went back into an alliance with them, which was very, very good for me, because for me, I never liked the separation of those people whom we had worked with for 10 concrete years. And in those 10 years when we were working together, I think that's when Uganda was recording double-digit growth. But when we started fragmenting, that's when we got a lot of issues. So he's my vice chair person in UDF, in think tanking, and we are doing very good work. So I wish him the best in his delegates conference, and I want to thank the Minister of Finance. I want to thank the Uganda Development Corporation and all the agencies that have supported OWC to get to the ordinary man each. We are very excited that we participated in this revolution of reducing the people who are outside the money economy, and we hope we can completely eliminate it in the next 5 to 10 years.